2, 1, and we're live.
Well, guess what? Another session, body image and body positivity. Well, I think we have lots to share here, and I'm really looking forward to learning a lot. I know that most of us are not too proud of our bodies, but my body is a work in progress, and I'm glad to see what everybody else feels about things. And there's just so much to say. So I think I'm ready to hear from the team over here. They put together this wonderful presentation. What's the next slide? Or are we ready to start? Or how do you want to do this, Stuart?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I can just go over the table of contents for the presentation today, and then we'll get started. Can everyone see my screen?
You look wonderful. Good body image.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to be going through the table of contents, if you will, for the webinar today. So we're just going to be talking about what body image is and how we can define it and how we can figure out whether we have a good or poor body image. And then we're going to be talking about body image, self-esteem, and mental health and how they're all kind of related to each other. We're going to be touching upon the body positivity movement and how body image and body positivity has been affected during COVID-19 and having to stay at home. And we're also going to be talking about how we can have a healthy body image and still stay health-conscious. And finally, we're going to be talking about some tips we have for building a healthy body image.
Yeah, so I'll just take over. And hi, everyone. My name is Helena, and I'll just be briefly addressing what body image is to start off the webinar. So body image is the perception that a person has of their physical self and the thoughts and feelings that result from that perception. So these feelings can be positive, negative, or both, and can be influenced by individual and environmental factors. And many of us internalize messages starting at a young age that can lead to either positive or negative body image. And having a healthy body image is an important part of mental well-being and eating disorders prevention. So body image is determined by 4 factors, and one is how you see your body, and that's your perceptual body image. And this isn't always a correct representation of how you actually look. You could perceive yourself as overweight when you're actually underweight. And it's the way you feel about your body, and that's your effective body image. And this relates to the amount of satisfaction and dissatisfaction you feel about your shape, weight, and individual body parts. And then 3 is the way you think about your body. It's your cognitive body image. This can lead to preoccupation with body shape and weight. And lastly, behaviors in which you engage as a result of your body image includes your behavioral body image. And when a person is dissatisfied with the way he looks, they may isolate themselves because they feel bad about their appearance.
Hey, Stuart, we got a little background noise in there. What should we do? Should we mute any of our mics or something, or what's the best thing to do is?
Yeah, no problem. I just got to just took care of it right now. I just had to switch it over, so I got it handled from now on.
All these technology things, we're all learning technology. I'm fully amazed how we're all advancing. I'm Technology 101, and I'm going to be to 102 next week. So great. Go ahead, Elena. There, thank you.
Okay, so body dissatisfaction can be minor, so it can be as small as you may think your nose is too big, or it can be very severe, like you may hate everything about your body, but once you start to think that you have a flaw, your mind kind of runs with that distraction and can turn it into more than it actually is. So this all affects the way you think and feel about how you look and maybe life in general. So people who have negative views of their body may have obsessive thoughts about the way they look. And on this slide, I've listed some of the signs of poor body image, and those include focusing on minor flaws in appearance, avoiding social engagement, constantly hiding perceived flaws, either with makeup or clothes, constantly comparing your appearance to others, and never being satisfied with your appearance. And aside from the ones that I've listed, others can include needing constant reassurance from other people or fearing others can see your flaws and overthinking how they might react to that. Next slide, please. Yeah, so issues regarding body image is a topic that's widely prevalent in our society. And in Canada alone, you see that statistics show that 87% of males and 91% of females aren't happy with their appearance. They're dissatisfied. And this information just proves to show that body dissatisfaction is very common, and that if you are struggling with your body image, you aren't alone in the journey.
Well, you know what? So let's go back one slide there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
most of us aren't too happy with our bodies. Well, my body is what it is, and I want it to be better. Most people think of their body as what's on the surface. I'm thinking what's inside, what those vessels look like. So I would rather have a ugly body and beautiful arteries and beautiful mind and etc. So, but I'm, like most of us, I'm a work in progress. So it's good that I'm not totally satisfied. I'm not happy with my health. So I'm not dissatisfied. So what do you think? You're saying so. I guess it's how you take this to what extreme there. So that's good that most of us want to hopefully get our bodies in better shape. So to me, this is a work in progress. If you take it that way, if you take it as a colossal failure, then you need to reframe and learn things about that. And I know you're going to help us transform that. You know what? We're not perfect. We're a work in progress, and it's not the end of the world that I have this little belly over here, but it's getting smaller. And hopefully that manifests in good, strong arteries and good, strong brain power and good resilience. So, does anybody else have a comment about that? I guess
You
not.
have no belly.
I have a belly.
You have no belly.
You're too kind, but I have a belly. It's getting smaller, and I know that the tape measurement is a good measurement of central adiposity, which is a good marker for inflammation, which is a good marker for cancer, heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, atrial fibrillation. So, to me, is that the typical woman appearance or fat around the thighs is more of a cosmetic problem. Fat around the belly is more a health issue. So to me, looking at around the belly is the best place to find that fat and to do something about it. The fat around the thighs, while still important, is not as important. And but you know what? I'm not dissatisfied. I'm not overly satisfied, but I'm going to work in progress. So to me, I'm going to use this as a stepping stone to becoming healthier, more resilient. What do you think, Heather?
That sounds lovely.
All right, move on.
Sure. Do you want to sit? So I'm going to have my mom join me while I do this presentation. She wants to listen in. Dr. Creaney, I think, makes a great point when he was talking about how it's not just how you look on the outside, it's also about how you look on the inside, physically and emotionally. So I'm going to be talking about how body image is related to self-esteem and mental health, which kind of refers to how we're feeling on the inside. So mental health is a very broad term, and it encompasses our emotional, behavioral, and social well-being. So it kind of encompasses all facets of our life. It's essential to our overall health because health is not just physical health, it's also how we feel emotionally. And it's more than just the absence of mental illness. And I think that's one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have, is that if you have mental illness, you can't have good mental health. But there's lots of people who have mental illness and are still able to live a very fulfilling and happy life. And now we have self-esteem. So self-esteem is our perceived self-worth. So how much do we value and respect ourselves, and how much do we accept our abilities, limitations, and potential altogether? Because no one's perfect. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. So how much do we value both of our abilities and both of what we cannot do very well, so our weaknesses? And self-esteem is shaped by our age, health, thoughts, experiences, and relationships. And it's constantly changing as we go about in our lifetime. Usually when we're adolescents, that's when we're most vulnerable to having poor self-esteem, just because dispositionally and situationally, we're more vulnerable to peer pressure and kind of paying attention more to what other people think. But it's definitely possible to have it continually changing and go like up and down as we become adults. So facets of mental health are interconnected. So what does this mean? So this means that body image, mental health, self-esteem, they're all related to one another. So when one of them isn't doing well, it's very likely that the other two won't be doing well either. So if we're not feeling comfortable about our body, it might be difficult to feel like we can manage our problems and our emotions. So that means that poor body image can lead to poor mental health. And then on the other hand, if we don't think we're good enough, we might think in extremes. So for example, if we think that we're not capable of doing the things that we want to, then we might think I'm a failure, which is not the greatest way of thinking. It's definitely good to think positively, but I think the more we'll talk about it, we'll see the fact that it's very easy to have all of these kind of affect one another, almost like a domino effect. And similarly at the bottom here, if we're not feeling good about our body, so we have poor body image, it's hard to feel good about ourselves as a whole. So if we're not feeling good on the outside, then it's hard to feel good on the inside as well. And just to hit that point home, based on research, we know that higher body dissatisfaction, so a poor body image, is linked to low self-esteem, being overweight, harmful behaviors such as self-harm, eating disorders, unhealthy eating behaviors, depression, poor quality of life, and psychological distress. And obviously, seeing as to how these can all be categorized under self-esteem or mental health, it's important to recognize how valuable our body is and to have a positive body image. So I'm not going to go into these too in depth, but I did want to cover some of the eating disorders that are frequent when we have a negative body image. So obviously not everyone is going to have these eating disorders, but unhealthy eating behaviors and patterns of thinking can lead to eating disorders such as anorexia. So anorexia is characterized by an abnormally low body weight, and that's usually caused by extreme methods. So limiting caloric intake, excessive exercise, vomiting, or even using laxatives to induce vomiting. Bulimia is characterized by cycles of overeating, so it's also referred to as binge eating, followed by cycles of purging, so kind of either throwing it up or using other compensating behaviors like laxatives to make it kind of go away pretty much. But both of these eating disorders are associated with a distorted and negative view of one's body image, and it can also definitely be associated with fear, guilt, and shame when it comes to gaining weight. So people who have these eating disorders are very more likely to be afraid and constantly thinking about whether they're gaining weight, losing weight, and how they can lose more weight. A negative body image can also lead to binge eating disorder. And I didn't know this, but during my research, binge eating disorder was actually formally recognized as a mental disorder in 2013, I believe. It's characterized by recurrent episodes of overeating. And I'll be touching upon this later, but usually unhealthy eating behaviors such as emotional eating can lead to binge eating disorder. And it's usually associated with a loss of control, so a loss of control over how much food we intend to eat, marked distress such as shame or embarrassment over that behavior, and being overweight or obese. I did want to mention, though, it is possible to be overweight or obese and not have binge eating disorder, so they're not a bi-directional relationship. Binge eating disorder is is the most common eating disorder in the U.S. I wasn't able to find statistics in Canada specifically, but I did read that based on the statistics, it's more prevalent than if you were to combine anorexia and bulimia together. So it's definitely a big issue within the population, not just in the U.S., but also probably all across the world. It usually becomes prevalent in the late teens or early 20s. However, the graphic on the right, my apologies, the graphic on the right highlights the fact that it's not specific to younger people. It's possible for women and men to develop it in early adulthood or midlife, respectively. And body dysmorphic disorder is not categorized as an eating disorder specifically because it does have aspects that are more like obsessive compulsive disorder, but it's characterized by persisting and intrusive preoccupation with an imagined or slight defect in one's appearance. So earlier Helena was talking about how, some people might feel a little self-conscious about a specific part of their body. For example, the nose, I think she mentioned. With body dysmorphic disorder, people take that specific defect, and sometimes it's not even a real defect. It's something that they've, I guess, procured up in their minds. So it seems so much more exaggerated than it actually is. And it's associated with embarrassment and anxiety, repetitive behaviors, or patterns of thinking. So they might constantly be thinking, oh, can other people notice this defect like I can? And it can hinder quality of life because they're always thinking about ways and behaviors they should perform in order to minimize that specific defect. It's also associated with needing reassurance, so needing reassurance from others to make sure that their defect isn't being seen by others. Now, according to the Mental Health Foundation, 1 in 8 adults had experienced suicidal thoughts or feelings because they were distressed about their body image. And over 1/3 of adults said they had felt anxious or depressed because of their body image. Now, this is based, I believe, in Australia, where they did a survey with over 4,000 adults and 1,000 teenagers. But if you just look at that over 1/3 of adults, it's obviously clear that body image can take a toll on a lot of people in many different ways, but it's clearly an issue that we should be addressing more and talking about more. And just in general, with the disorders that I've mentioned, all these disorders have commonalities, and those commonalities include difficulties with emotion regulation. They're often comorbid, so they're also coexisting with severe depression and anxiety. People with these disorders are more likely to have suicidal thoughts. And most importantly, these disorders, and like many other mental illnesses, they impact our mental health and as a result, our daily life. So they can affect our relationships with our friends, our family, but they can also affect us at work or at school when we're trying to study or get things done, because it's hard to focus when your mind is preoccupied with your body or a specific part of your body. And now we'll just be talking about the body positivity movement.
Alright, so I'll be covering this part. So next slide, please. Right, so the body positivity movement really took off around 2012, initially focusing on challenging traditional and unrealistic beauty ideals. And today, with the growing popularity of the movement, especially in social media sites like Instagram, its main focus has shifted to promoting acceptance of all bodies, so regardless of physical ability, race, gender, sexuality, size, or appearance. And it basically aims to help people foster self-confidence and a positive body image through its promotion of the message that all bodies are beautiful. So next slide. And a study in 2019 basically looked at the impact of the body positivity movement on Instagram on actual young women. And so they took around 195 young women, so between the ages of 18 and 30, and exposed them to body positive, thin ideal, or appearance neutral Instagram posts. And they found that after exposure to body positive posts, their body satisfaction significantly improved, as you can see from the solid black line there on the figure on the left. And whereas it significantly decreased for those who are exposed to thin ideal Instagram posts, that's the dashed line that you see. And those who are exposed to appearance neutral posts had similar body satisfaction before and after exposure, which is the dotted line that you see. But this movement isn't without its flaws as well. Results also showed that regardless of being exposed to body positive or thin ideal posts, young people's view of self-objectification remained really high, as you can see from the bar graph there. This suggests that focusing on someone's appearance, whether it's positive or negative, is linked with greater self-objectification, especially on an image-based platform like Instagram. Even if a post has really good intentions, if the post focuses too much on physical appearance, it could increase young people's state of self-objectification, which is then associated with negative consequences like body dysmorphia. Next slide. And another study highlighted that only about 43% of the posts on Instagram with the hashtag body positivity were of larger bodies, which is more representative of the average person, so that's less than half, which is more concerning. And they also found that posts linked with the body positivity movement contained contradictory messages as well. So some of the posts had messages about weight loss and dieting, even though they were also talking about accepting your body and loving yourself. So the movement still has a lot of room for growth and improvement, but one area that's particularly strong on is spreading messages of inner positivity, which is what is really important. So inner positivity is related to cultivating strength, resilience, power, and optimism. It was the most common body image theme on Instagram, and its posts focused on the stories behind the picture rather than the physical imperfections. So this is important because developing body positivity, as mentioned previously, is mostly about adjusting your mindset on how you view yourself. So the main takeaway from the study is that not every media or post associated with the body positivity movement is effective or helpful. So if you are feeling the best thing you could do is maybe to unplug yourself and maybe engage in activities that make you happy, or refocus your attention on other subjects. And next slide. And when it comes to finding information and advice on body image, social media is sort of like a double-edged sword. So a lot of the movement takes place online, especially on Instagram, as mentioned before. But it's also one of the main driving agents behind people's body dissatisfaction. So studies have found that thin ideal media especially is consistently associated with eating disorders, internalization of a thin ideal, and lower self-compassion. And as you can see from the picture there, so 1 in 5 UK adults said that images on social media had caused them to worry about their body image. And next slide. And another study from 2018 found that about 94% of Canadians who have access to the internet are on at least one social media platform. And a study involving 143 female university students found that women who engaged on social media with attractive peers reported negative body image. And posts related to fitspiration, which typically contain like beautiful people engaging in some kind of exercise, were particularly correlated with body image concerns in another study. So social media provides like hundreds of thousands of photos of idealized beauty, who we kind of like, and people who we kind of compare ourselves to without even realizing that they can potentially affect our valuation of our body image. And so this is why it's also important to become a critical viewer of social media and be educated on media literacy. Yep.
And kind of going on that note, I'm going to be talking about how we can have a good body image and still stay self-conscious. Health-conscious, not self-conscious. So many patients with heart disease, who Dr. Kearney sees, are typically advised to lose weight to reduce their cardiovascular risk and follow a healthy lifestyle. As you know, obesity, being overweight, can increase our risk of cardiovascular events, and so obviously losing weight would help reduce our risk and help promote a healthy life and longer life. But in the process of becoming healthier, it's also possible for us to overthink and put pressure on ourselves to achieve a certain weight or fitness level. So one of the patterns that are unhealthy when it comes to eating is emotional eating. So I kind of created this little cycle that explains the process. But basically at the top here, for example, you had a really bad day at work and you're feeling really overwhelmed and distressed. So you might be feeling stressed, angry, frustrated, upset, and that often can lead to one of two things. Either you don't want to eat at all, or you get an overwhelming urge to eat the feelings away. And for people who choose to eat the feelings away, they end up eating more than they should have or wanted to. And by that point, when they finish their meal, people who do emotional eating can feel ashamed or guilty and powerless over how they treat and approach food. Now, with unhealthy eating behaviors such as emotional eating, they've been linked to negative outcomes. So, emotional eating has been shown to mediate the relationship between depression and changes in BMI. With people who have depression, they're more likely to turn to unhealthy behaviors such as emotional eating in order to compensate for those negative emotions or feelings, and that can lead to fluctuations in their body mass index. And unfortunately, that has also other consequences, because yo-yo dieting, which refers to significant weight loss followed by weight gain, is actually linked to poor cardiovascular health. According to many studies, I only linked 2 here, but the fluctuation, the term is also called weight cycling. So it's when you've lost a lot of weight, and in a short amount of time, you've either gained the same amount of weight or gained even more in that process. And it's really unhealthy for your heart and your body in general, because it actually promotes increased fat in the body, and it can affect our liver as well.
So one of the things is that this yo-yo dieting has been around for a long time, and I think reality is most of us, our weights go up or down, and I've seen conflicting data about this. So to me is that you're human if your weight goes up or down, and I wouldn't so worry about the cardiovascular effects over the short term. I think in the long run. So, you know, the Toronto Raptors was a losing franchise at one time. They're a winning franchise next. We're gonna go through a losing streak. You know, don't worry about the ups and downs. Go through the ups and downs, and don't make a point of that. So, so what I'm going to try to do is, listen, I'm a work in progress. I'm going to have some good weights and bad weights, and some days I'm going to look good. Some days I'm not going to feel so good about myself. But I'm going to try to be a little bit easier on myself and yourself too as well. It's too easy to get disappointed, but it takes a bigger man or woman to say, you know what? I've had a bad period of time. I'm getting back on track. It's like riding a bike. You know, you fall, scrape your legs. Now you ride your bike. So just move forwards for most of us is my take on this. The people I worry the most are people who've never lost weight when they try to lose weight. You know, so I'd rather see you win some, lose some, and move forwards about this. And not be so hard on yourself is the message I think we're trying to portray here. That makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Obviously, sorry, just to clarify, I guess with dieting in general, it's very easy to try to aim for a really low body weight, but when it comes to losing weight, it's all about the journey for you to get to a healthier person. So don't focus on the numbers, focus on how you're feeling and what ways you're trying to live that healthier lifestyle. So the question after talking about those unhealthy eating behaviors is, how can I live a healthy lifestyle that promotes a positive body image and still helps me to manage my heart condition? So how can we put those two together and still have them coexist in a positive way? So obviously, as we know, with any physical disease and just with lifestyle in general, diet is an essential component of lifestyle changes that patients and people in general can make for their health. A healthy diet can lower blood pressure, blood sugar. It can minimize the bad LDL cholesterol. It can encourage weight loss. So by you eating healthier and developing those healthier habits, it can help to encourage weight loss. And a healthy diet can also make you happier. So there's also psychological benefit to it as well. So I'm just going to be covering 2 myths that people often have. So the first one is unhealthy food tastes better. So I think based in media, like when you look at TV shows, movies, when the characters are not having a great day, a lot of the cases, at least with younger shows or younger people shows, is that the characters will turn to junk food. They'll go out at late at night, or they'll get a tub of ice cream, and the scene is kind of revolved around them kind of coping with how they're feeling through junk food. But this study conducted in Germany, they looked at how happy and satisfied people felt after their meals for 8 consecutive days. So they told all the participants to download this smartphone app that asked them to record what they ate for that specific meal, how happy they felt, and how satisfied they were after eating. And the researchers wanted to compare the happiness differences throughout the day as well. So they compared lunch and dinner, or having a snack versus eating dinner. And overall, there were 14 different food categories that the researchers provided to the participants to categorize their food under. So these diagrams were made by the researchers. It was in the paper, and I thought it was really interesting how they showed the results. So on the left here, it's a figure that represents the average experience eating happiness. So the intensity of the color of the circles represent how happy people felt after eating these food categories. And the bigger the circle, the more frequently the category was consumed by the participants. And if you notice here, vegetables and sweets had similar consumption rates, but the important finding with this side is that vegetables and sweets didn't have a significantly different happiness outcome. So what that means is participants didn't report feeling happier after eating sweets compared to when they were eating vegetables. And on the right here, it's a circle that kind of represents the total share of food categories in eating happiness. So essentially, overall, over those 8 consecutive days, what was eaten the most, and what was eaten the most that made people most happy. And if you see here, I've outlined the fact that vegetables take up the most biggest chunk of the circle, and what that indicates is that vegetable consumption took on the highest share of making people happier after eating, which I thought was very interesting. Just the study in itself, I think it suggests that perhaps our belief that's developed by media and by just society itself that junk food can make us feel better isn't necessarily true, and that still developing a healthier lifestyle can still help us to feel good, and it's shown in research itself. So I think it's a very interesting point to bring up. The next one is myth: you have to eat healthy for a long time before you see any benefit. So when we're talking about developing a healthier lifestyle, we're usually talking about it in the long term. So, changing our risk factors in the long term, spending a good couple of years kind of managing our routine and our diet or exercise so that we can become healthier. This study that was done in Australia looked at over 12,000 people, so they're all adults, who answered questions about their fruit and vegetable intake in this I believe it was biannual survey. So the study was conducted from 2007 to 2013, and the kinds of questions they were asked were, within the week, how many days would you say you eat vegetables and fruits? And within those specific days, how many servings do you ingest? And the results here suggest that between 2007 and 2009, the participants who increased their fruit and veggie intake experienced a change in life satisfaction for the better. So they experienced higher life satisfaction. And if you see here with the red arrow, those who went from 0 to 8 fruit and veggie portions resulted in a life satisfaction that, I quote from the study, is equal to the psychological gain of moving from unemployment to employment. And I thought that was really interesting that the study kind of put those contrasting ideas together, but I think it also emphasizes the fact that making such a small lifestyle choice, incorporating fruits and vegetables, incorporating healthy foods, can make such a big difference for our life satisfaction that is even equivalent to getting accepted for a job, which I thought was really cool and very interesting. And with both of these studies, obviously the truth is that a healthy relationship with our bodies and food is essential to our physical and emotional well-being. It's hard for us to have a healthy lifestyle if we're not feeling good about ourselves and feeling good about the way we eat. So they're all kind of interconnected together. So it's important that we pay attention to all of these different aspects. So one of the ways that we can feel good about ourselves is thinking positively. One of the techniques, I feel like I've mentioned this in a couple presentations, is reframing. So changing the way we perceive events and situations in a more positive light. So taking negative emotions or thoughts and changing them into positive ones. So instead of looking at the glass half empty, we can look at it half full. And the example I put here is, instead of finding someone to blame for a certain situation, finding compassion for the other party and kind of trying to feel more understanding than anger or frustration. And I have some examples of how reframing can be used for the way we perceive our own bodies and how we can promote positive thinking as we continue to build a healthier body image. So the first one is reframing the thought, I can't eat the foods I enjoy. So obviously, I think for a lot of people, at least with my mom is not able to eat a lot of food because she has a weak stomach. So there's a lot of foods that she can't eat, for example, coffee. And so we're always trying to find ways to find alternatives and just other foods that can provide the same satisfaction without causing the consequences that we know they could cause. So instead of saying I can't eat the foods I enjoy, think about it in how can I use the foods I can eat to create dishes that make me happy and healthy. So taking what you are able to eat, whatever is more healthier, whatever is the most healthier option, and using that to make similar foods or trying new dishes that can still make you happy and satisfied with what you're eating. So on the right here, I just added a graphic that kind of points out a couple swaps, like healthy swaps for certain foods that you can replace. So for example, instead of mayo, using avocado, instead of mashed potatoes, using cauliflower mash. I've seen so many swaps on the internet, on Pinterest, for example, that talk about how you can substitute in baking as well. Instead of using oil, you can use, I don't remember what the example was, but I've seen a lot of different substitutes being used in baking as well. So it's definitely a good way to think about how you can enjoy the food that you're eating. And then reframing the idea, I hate the way I look. Dr. Cooney brought this up earlier as well, but everyone has those days where we don't feel great about ourselves. There's just a lot of factors that go into how we feel every day, and it's totally okay not to feel great when you wake up one morning, but it's important to recognize that the way that you feel on the outside is not reflective of who you are as a person on the inside. So you might not be feeling great about how you look today, but that's okay, because like Dr. Cooney said, you're a work in progress, and you're still making those choices that are going to help you become healthier, and that in itself is going to help you feel better about yourself day by day. So it's definitely important to recognize that we're not going to all have perfectly great days, but to recognize that we're still working at it and you're still going to get to where you want to be at the end.
So I'm going to discuss the influences of COVID-19 on body image and how to stay positive through it all. Next slide, please. So social media is a way for us to stay connected during this pandemic, but unfortunately it can also become a space for promoting negative body image and weight stigma, which can then negatively influence the health and well-being for a lot of people, including those who are overweight or obese. And weight stigmatizing images, quotes, or memes promote negative stereotypes associated with body weight. And most importantly, weight stigmatizing messages will have a negative impact on everyone's mental health, but may be especially harmful for those who are overweight or obese, who have body distortion or any other weight-related health conditions that they likely have been experiencing prior to the pandemic. So the use of social media during this pandemic has led to the creation of terms such as quarantine 15 and promoted unhealthy expectations of exercise, which I'll talk more about later. So online images and quotes suggest that this period of social distancing will result in weight gain due to overeating because there is nothing to do at home, or reference being lazy and binge watching series and therefore being inactive. And these misconceptions have also led to popular terms such as quarantine 15, referring to weight gain, a kind of spin-off of freshman 15, where you gain 15 pounds during your first year of university. And this playful use of the term may even promote binge eating and inactivity and kind of consider it as an okay thing to do, but it can also lead to harmful health conditions, which we should be more conscious about. Additionally, it can promote poor body image and negative stereotypes for larger bodies who have been affected by the so-called quarantine 15. Next slide, please. So the truth of the matter is that during a pandemic, we can eat more and we may gain more weight, and our exercise routines definitely will be disrupted. And food is reliable, and it's often a source we go to for comfort and relaxation during times of great uncertainty and stress. And yes, there are health risks with regularly overeating and not exercising, but eating healthy and having time to exercise might not be privileges that everyone has. And there are a vast amount of posts on how you should exercise and diet in lockdown, and these posts suggest that working on and worrying about your body is your top priority during lockdown. And this mindset can be very toxic, as people may not actually have the time to exercise, and this can then lead to feeling inadequate and lesser than your actual self-worth. So to kind of summarize, quarantine and the use of social media left two reactions kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. So one that kind of normalizes overeating, and the other prompting to make unrealistic exercise routines to keep up with social standards. And both of these reactions are somewhat toxic and can leave negative impacts on how we view our body moving forward during this quarantine. And these reactions are especially more harmful for those who are vulnerable, like patients with eating disorders, which I'll address in the next slide. Next slide, please. So for individuals with eating disorders, two particular challenges during this pandemic are food scarcity and food accessibility. So initially, beginning of quarantine, empty store shelves and panic buying can lead to a scarcity mindset and increased preoccupation with food. And it can also increase a desire to hoard food or lead to rationalizing the urge to avoid the hassle of getting food or leaving the house. And those with eating disorders may actually rely on eating safe foods. But with this pandemic, there is a possibility that those foods aren't even available. So this increases anxiety and a desire to restrict. And on the other side, there is also more access to food due to increased time at home and stockpiling behaviors. And this can create the desire to restrict food intake or binge and or purge. So the social distancing and stay-at-home orders associated with the pandemic can increase loneliness, shame, and avoidance for people who have eating disorders. And an eating disorder can often be used as a distraction from experiencing distress, as well as a way to feel in control and manage uncertainty. And for vulnerable patients, COVID-19 has disrupted these routines and kind of undermined the structures that kind of provided support and increased feelings of uncertainty, leaving a lot of these patients overwhelmed and feeling dysregulated. Next slide, please. So with everything that's going on with COVID and its negative repercussions on body image, I've kind of listed some simple ways to take care of yourself. So first, you may be noticing that the more news you watch, the more difficult it is for you to fall asleep. And all those messages on the news and social media outlets can increase our worries and concerns about our uncertain future. And limiting that social media exposure can help with sleeping, but it can also help with how we feel, as social media can break down body image and our confidence as we compare ourselves to the ideal body shapes we can readily find on our social media accounts. And limiting this exposure not only helps with sleep, but also for our mental health as we continue. And second, in terms of managing your expectations, it ties in closely with the idea of exercise and unrealistic goals individuals set. So the very limited options of physical activity in the house creates more anxiety about changes in your weight and overall body image. And during this hopefully temporary global situation, we have to kind of change our expectations and create real ones of what we can actually do each day in terms of movement, and focus on increasing joy rather than controlling our shape and our weight. And next, be kinder to yourself, as Dr. Kearney mentioned before. It's a lot easier said than done, but having self-compassion during this time is very important. We get so caught up on focusing on the bad that we forget about the good, and self-love is even more crucial during this time. And lastly, meditating is such a great way for stress relief and relaxation, but it can also help you be more aware of your thoughts that enter and exit your mind. And so these are a couple of tips that I listed, and they're only a small step forward, but it can make a large difference in how you proceed in your daily life during COVID.
So that's really important. One of the things is that right now, if I speak to you or I'm asking people to weigh themselves, and many people response sometimes is a sense of anger, frustration. Get over it. In a sense of use that, okay, so I monitor my weight on a regular basis. I'm kinder to myself. Maybe I'm kinder to myself right now because my weight's going down and I'm putting a lot of effort to do it. But it's a lot of hard work. It's not going down very quickly. But and I go up and down, but I'm not being angry. And I see so many people get angry. So if getting angry is going to help you motivate yourself, fine. But I think for many people, does the exact opposite. So I think you said that. Be kind to yourself. Don't get angry at your doctor. Don't get angry at yourself or your next door neighbor. Just think of coping mechanisms. Set some new expectations. You can't wish your weight. You can't wish your body image. But how you respond to that, you can do so much better. And I can do better if you can do better. So I think that's important. Just to be more gentle, but also, I'm finding more people is that they don't want to measure. Well, not knowing your blood pressure, not knowing your weight, not knowing your cholesterol will lead to bad outcome measurements. And I'm thinking is I'm going to measure so I can get healthier. Look, I went to the lab today, had my eyes checked today. is that oh, by the way, Stuart, how much do I weigh, do you think? This is right. I didn't tell you how much I weighed this week. Get you a guess?
My guess is 171.
Yeah, I'm 170 today.
Nice.
So I got that one, but it's taken me, I don't know how many months to get there. And I set a realistic goal of 165. Last couple of weeks I've lost a pound. A couple of weeks ago I gained a couple pounds. But I'm going to go out there and, oh, by the way, tonight, I'm not doing the stairs tonight because the whole family's in town, so I'm going to try to convince Josh, my oldest son, to go play tennis afterwards. Yes, we'll be playing tennis at 6:30 tomorrow morning, and but just do something and don't get angry. Use it to move forward. And I thank you, young people, for showing that. And I think too many responses where people are just getting angry. They're getting angry at everybody around them. If you're going to weigh yourself and get angry, don't weigh yourself. If you're going to weigh yourself to help motivate you to change and to be kinder to yourself and say, whoops, it's like falling off your bike. When you fall off your bike, you get angry. Most of the time, we just get back on the bike. So get back on the scale, get back onto life, and be more gentle to yourself. And it's very true about social media, is that everybody's better looking than me, smarter than myself, and more polished. But I'm human, and I like humans. And I look at, Ford right now in Ontario. He's a very human leader right now. He's, showing emotion, showing he's human, and he's moving forwards. And he's trying to make this pandemic a better place. And I think he's done a great job. And because of this human aspect of things. So call a spade, but also don't use it as an opportunity to get angry. Use an opportunity to just get better and to be more accepting. I'll be quiet for a bit.
That's it from me, but I'll pass it off to whoever's next.
Let's have the next slide.
Is the next slide showing?
There we go.
Okay. I think that's me. That's the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you build a healthier body image? How do we do that?
Next slide, please.
Sorry, I can't see the slide, but
Oh,
Right now, it's surround yourself with positivity.
okay. I can't see the slides for some reason.
So it's surround yourself with positivity.
Oh, sorry, it's showing now. Yeah, so one way to do that is be around people who make you feel good about yourself. So maybe people who use body positive language around you. And you can also assess external factors that are around you that may be influencing how you may be feeling. So, for example, your social media usage. So are there apps on your phone that are they helpful or are they stressful in building a positive self-image? So maybe if you find that social media like Facebook or Instagram is causing you to stress out a little bit, it might be a good time to unplug for a little bit or take a break or delete the app altogether. You can also seek support from friends or health professionals as you work on building a healthy body image. Next slide. I'm not sure if the next slide is showing it, is it?
Not yet. I think it might be frozen. If you, there we go.
Okay. Oh yeah. So another tip is to find a form of exercise that satisfies you. So exercise has been proven to alleviate stress, also lowers cortisol, stimulates the release of endorphins, which is our natural painkillers. So some examples of different forms of exercise include swimming, cycling, jogging, brisk walking, Pilates, or yoga. And there's even exercises you can do while sitting in a chair or lying on your bed. So there really is no excuse. And next slide.
I really enjoy swimming, cycling, jogging, all of the above. I don't. So find something, and one of the things that this summer is that because of what's happened is that the gyms are closed, so I can't go to the gym. But I've discovered tennis this summer, and what I love is the birds chirping, and it's been a warm summer, not too much rain. So find something, and I really feel really sad for people who can't form some form of activity. From just sitting in the chair, doing armband exercising, going for short walks, to running, jumping, skipping, doing something is important. But just getting outside is so important. Go ahead.
And another tip is to be patient and flexible with yourself. So pay attention to your body as well as your mind. So ask yourself, do I feel full? Am I hungry or dehydrated? Or if you're not feeling great today, maybe you should take a break from the exercise. So you should treat your body the way you treat the people you love. Next slide.
Treat your body the way you treat the people you love. I like that.
And you can also assess your lifestyle. So you can ask yourself, am I living a healthy lifestyle? And if not, what are some ways you can change to make your current lifestyle a healthier one? So you can adjust food, exercise, sleep. You can consider quitting smoking or drinking alcohol, and and evaluate your relationships. So are they healthy, positive relationships, or are they causing you to stress out and contributing to your negative body image? And next slide. Another great tip is to focus on how you feel, not how you look. So ask, how am I feeling today, not how do I look today? And instead of think about where negative thoughts about your body may be coming from. So again, evaluating those external sources to kind of shed light onto the root cause of your negative body image. And focus your attention on activities that make you happy. So maybe you decide to include a self-care activity every day. So maybe you can meditate, you could take a long warm bath, you could try something new, you could do something that energizes you, like exercising or stretching or doing yoga. Also try to get some quality time with your friends or family, and get a good night's sleep. Next slide. And last but not least, you could try mindful eating. So mindful eating is a form of meditation that helps you to recognize and cope with your emotions and physical sensations. So we have some tips on the slide there. Some other ones include eating slowly and without any distractions, so putting all devices away, and try to engage more in family conversations. You can also listen to your hunger cues and eat only until you're full. And also try to distinguish between true hunger and non-hunger triggers for eating. You can also try to notice the effects the food has on your feelings and appearance. And most importantly, appreciate your food. So you can maybe do that by engaging your senses, by noticing the colors, the flavors, the textures, and the sounds while you're eating. And that wraps up all the tips for building a healthier body image.
So it's kind of interesting. We're having a birthday celebration today, and one of the things is I was snacking over here. I had my cup of coffee, and my son made some healthy pizza today. It's just nice being together, and it made me very grateful that we're all together and where the food all came from. And I think Emily did a really nice session about mindful eating in the past, and I found that really, really important to remember, to be thankful from the growers, from the farmers, to the people who transport And it really, and to choose slowly is something I need to work on. So thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Body image. Body image and positivity, so that wraps it up. But I did want to just conclude the presentation by just reiterating some of the stuff that I talked about during the presentation. So earlier, Susan said to treat your body the way you treat the people you love. The quote on the left here, it says, "Your body hears everything your mind says." So the way you're treating your body and the way you're treating your mind, they're all always connected to each other, so make sure you treat both equally with lots of love. And on the bottom right here is just a quote that I like. It's the most important relationship in your life is the relationship you have with yourself, because no matter what happens, you will always be with yourself. So always treat yourself with compassion, like Helena said, and always just remember that not every day is going to be perfect or great, but that doesn't change the fact that tomorrow can be a great one, and you can still make decisions and choices and have patterns of thinking that will propel you forward. Yes, thank you for listening to our presentation.
Like always, is that the email is drkernew@232gmail.com for questions or comments, or if you want some support. We'll get that website working again. And I want to thank everybody for a lovely presentation. And I really like the part of how you feel and how you can transform that. And I remember a previous webinar, we have 60, 80,000 thoughts that go through our mind most days. Most of them are unpleasant and repetitive. And to me, well, most of us don't love our bodies. They're not bad. They take us from A to B, and we can make them healthier all the time. Or if we view our blood pressure or cholesterol or weight as a weight in progress, fantastic. And always trying to get healthier and better in a more gentle way. I think we'd all be a better place. And remember, surround yourself with people to help support that change. You know, a successful sports team is not all the superstars. It's the superstars with everybody together working in that direction. So I learned a lot today. Wonderful. Is there any questions or comments from anybody out there, Stuart?
We did have one, more or less just some nice tips. Was they just said if somebody ever feels like your stomach's upset when it comes to drinking things like coffee, they just said that a little bit of pinch of baking soda in there helps to alleviate the stomach problems because it lowers the acidity of it. A little off topic, but it's a little bit of a helpful tip if anyone is interested in that.
Nice. Anybody else from the group want any parting comments or ideas at all?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Stuart. You always get the last word.
Well, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the presentation today. I like how you guys said how we all have mental health, and it's always on a scale. So some days your mental health can be a bit higher, some days it can be a bit lower. I think I'm always trying to figure out ways to get my mental health scale going up a little bit, and sometimes that means trying new things. I've recently been doing a lot more exercise. Obviously, it's a little bit harder these days, so going on runs by myself or even just getting a little bit of fresh air has been nice to give myself a little bit of peace of mind. So I'm not locked up in the house over here. And my advice is somebody told me somewhat recently that you're the world's leading expert on you. That kind of stuck with me because not everything is going to work for everyone. So some people might find that it's a good idea to try. I'll just get a little bit of feedback here. So
wonderful suggestions there. So you're the expert on you. I need other people around me to tell me how the you or the me can get a little bit healthier, and I think if we all work on that, and I think people worry about being judged all the time. I think we're the hardest judges on ourselves, and yes, it's good to judge yourself, but do it in a more kind way. We have amazing bodies. They can get healthier. We were just watching the world's hardest race. It was done in Fiji 2019, and that was a grueling 10 day adventure for many people. So, and what I learned in there is, man, it would be fun to be out there at some of the events, and also to how people work together as a team to get healthier. So, if we can be part of your team, we'd be glad to. But you need to be the captain of your team, and you need to not be so hard on yourself, and just move forward. So I want to just thank the whole crew today. A wonderful presentation. I think we set a record for one of the shortest webinars in the last little while. And that was wonderful. So I think we're going to let everybody go. We're going to stick around for those who want to and just chat a little bit. So Stuart, you can end this at any point in time. I want to wish everybody a good week. Tennis tomorrow morning. No walk tonight on the steps. I might go play some. If I can convince them to play some tennis, that's what we're going to go play in Linden tomorrow. If not, we'll at 6:30 tomorrow morning. And I wish you all a great night. And thank you so much, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.